Hi, everyone. This is Paul Tim, science teacher from Lyons, Decatur. And there's been a lot more schools closing within the local area as well as across the country. And there's a lot of teachers out there scrambling for resources right now and what to teach. And I would like to share some resources. Many of these that I shared at a workshop that I taught last fall at the Nebraska Association Teachers of Science Conference, sharing with science teachers that teach the life sciences. But these are perfectly applicable. You could use them fifth grade through probably freshman biology in teaching lessons related to ecology, food webs, community, and those are dealing with birds. And so I'm going to show you those resources that I'm going to share with you right now, that I have ready in a Google Drive folder. Those of you teachers out there that are scrambling because the curriculum that you currently have doesn't work or lend itself real quickly, real easily to things via distance. This is something that can be implemented via distance quite easily, especially if you're a Google school and you use Google Classroom. This is how I disseminate it out to all my students. So here, just shared on this page, there's a QR code that you can scan that will take you to the Google Drive folder with all of these resources. It's open and accessible for you to be able to download these resources and pick and choose from what you would like to use. There's also a link there. I apologize for the length of that link, but you should be able to pause this video and write that down. Definitely, if you have a phone with a QR code reader, it would go a little bit quicker that way to find that folder and then add it to your Google Drive. But this is a workshop that I taught called Phenomenal Bird Phenomena. And within that folder, here's a whole series of folders. This is the folder right here that QR code or that link will take you to. And I have added something in there as well. I'll touch base on in a minute that I've been sharing via social media before all this coronavirus stuff started to happen. I started to build something that will be an interactive thing I'll be doing for the next month that you can also be using with your students. But within this folder, you will find a series of 6 bird quizzes that I've created that are available through Canvas. If you go to this link, it will take you to instructions on how to find those quizzes and upload them into your Canvas so that your students can repetitively take these quizzes as many times as they need to learn the 150 most common birds in the Midwest. Many of these birds you find in the East Coast as well. There's a few mountain species, but definitely something for just teaching students how to identify birds. And you can easily disseminate those via Canvas if you use Canvas, and then assess your kids. For my students to learn their birds, I let them take that quiz as many times as they can until they can do them up to a 90% or higher success rate on the quiz. The point being they learn their birds, not necessarily reaching a specific quiz score. In addition to that, I have a series of Google Classroom assignments that I have created, where in my life science classroom, I assign each kid a bird and they become the expert on that particular bird by doing these assignments, which are attached and sent out via Google Classroom, and they complete those assignments. So going all the way back to the beginning of the school year, these assignments are given to them. They learn about their birds, and then they peer teach and teach each other about the things that they're learning about their birds and their interactions within their populations and their communities of birds and different organisms, learning food webs, learning food, water, habitat, the types of things that organisms depend upon to survive, as well as learning about the niche of their bird. Could be very useful in supporting some of your state standards as students are doing this research at home on their devices rather than within the classroom, but still very easily disseminated and received back through Google Classroom and assessed easily. Um, in addition to that, in the Phenomenal Bird Phenomenon folder, I also have something called Project Feeder Watch. I modeled this off of what the Cornell Lab of Ornithology does with their Project Feeder Watch, where you can have your students create a homemade bird feeder out of a recycled plastic milk jug, put bird seed in it, and then they take twice a week two 10-minute observations of the birds that they're seeing. This is after they've completed their bird quizzes. They've learned their birds enough to be able to tell the difference between a blue jay and a cardinal, things like that. But my students actually complete bird observations. And I can show you right now what that looks like within Google Classroom, because my students started this during third quarter. They hung up their bird feeders, and every week through Google Classroom, they get a new spreadsheet. I use the same template. They each get their own copy to fill out, and they need to take 2 observations, a minimum of 10 minutes per observation. And those observations, just as the Cornell Lab of Ornithology does with their Project Feeder Watch, must be on back-to-back days. So it could be Wednesday, Thursday, it could be Saturday, Sunday. And in here are the top 25 most commonly seen birds in Nebraska. I believe that was the year 2017 that I modeled this off of. That was all based on data that I found through the Cornell Lab as I was putting these assignments together. So those are available to you as well, should you want to have your students be doing observations from their windows, observations from their backyard, not having to interact with any other people, but making observations of the birds that are in their area and which ones are coming to their feeders. A very worthwhile series of assignments that they can complete. And then at the end of the quarter, have them fill out, or at the end of the period, maybe it's a month that you guys are out of school, but you have them assess their spreadsheets and see what they've seen and how that's changed over a period of time. That's available to you. You're able to take a look at some other links, create your own lessons, create your own opportunities for students to explore. Within that folder, you'll find this, a Phenomenal Birds Phenomena Word document that has a whole ton of links, as well as apps that you're able to load up and utilize as a teacher. Last but not least, I would like to invite you to participate in something that I'm actually starting tomorrow. My students have been building something called Marsh Madness. My students have created 64, now it says 75 videos in here. I think accidentally a few videos got duplicated, so my apologies. But if you go to YouTube and you search Marsh Madness 2020, my name is Paul Tim, you'll find my icon. There's a whole series of videos. These are 60-second videos that my students have created scripts for. They had to basically explain why, if their bird, this is a migratory bird, I created a bracketed system, just like the NCAA tournament, where all these birds that migrate through Nebraska, as they come through, if they were set up in a tournament and they had to compete against each other to see which was the champion migratory bird amongst these 64, which one would it be? I had my students each create a 60-second script that they read then as to why the public should vote for their bird. Within the Phenomenal Bird Phenomenon folder, I created a folder called Marsh Madness. In that folder, you will find a bracket that can be shared with your students. These can be printed at their homes, or they can just look at them electronically. But throughout the next month, I have created a schedule. Starting tomorrow, a series of surveys are going to come out on social media for the public to vote on. So if you look at this document, which is also within that Marsh Madness folder, starting tomorrow, Burt County Northern Division of the bracket, when you click on that link, it will pull up the voting survey through Google that students can fill out, and they have to have a Google email address. That's kind of the kicker with this, because I wanted to restrict this voting online to where people could only vote once. But you'd type your email in, and then you come down below and you see the birds and the videos that my students created. Now, in some instances where students didn't get videos completed, you'll just find a picture of the bird. But in other instances where they've created that bird, you'll be able to click on that link and that student's video will play. And they'll be able to learn about that bird. They'll be able to expand that screen. It's only a minute long. And then they can choose which bird would they like to vote for, the Sandhills crane, which is the #1 seat in the Northern Burt County Division, or the common grackle, which is the 16th seat. And as you can see, as you go down, there's more videos and there's more places to vote. We are asking after they vote that they fill out what country are they completing the survey from, because we are expecting a few to come in from overseas, but also what town and what state. So for me, it'd be United States, Lyons, Nebraska. Then I would click submit. These votings are going to take place over the next month. As you can see, I only have the first 8 surveys created for all 64 birds in round 1 of competition. But as we go through the competition day by day, you will see in this bracket, these spaces start to be filled in with the winners. This is kind of a fun activity, a lighthearted activity, but also gets kids engaged, gets kids involved. You as a teacher could assign your own kids and say, hey, we got 24 of you in this class. Let's split you up into flocks. You 3 are a flock, you 3 are a flock, you 3 are a flock. Pick your birds, learn about them, share with the rest of your classmates, create a video online that you could share back with your classmates, and you could be interacting online that way, even though not a single one of those students are in contact with each other. There's a lot of really neat things that you could do with this. I will be updating all this, putting these surveys out on social media every day. You as a teacher just need to come to this document, which is located within the Marsh Madness folder that I've placed in the Phenomenal Bird Phenomenon folder. And like I said, as we get further along, as we get down into March and April, these places where there are no links, those will change to links that you can actually forward to your students. So you don't have to go searching for my surveys that I'm posting up on Lyons, Decatur, Northeast's Twitter and Facebook pages. The links will be right here that you can share to your students via Google Classroom, via email, however you would like. There's a few other things in there as well. Some art projects as far as assigning students opportunities to be able to sketch birds. I got some great lessons in there for how to go about drawing a sparrow, how to go about drawing a warbler or a cardinal, using a grid system for being able to help students see those connections, those lines, those shapes, the form. There's a few other things in there as well. I do welcome you if you have any questions, if you're having any trouble getting any of these to work. Here's my contact information on the screen. There's my email. There's my Twitter feed. I'm going to be available online as well, because it appears that I'm going to be working from home too for the next couple of weeks. So I just want to encourage you. I know it's a tough time, but I hope these resources are helpful to you. I'm happy to provide them. And take care of yourselves and keep encouraging those kids online, because it's kind of a scary time right now, but let's hang in there. Take care.